Before the story begins, I'd like to ask you to subscribe and like. This will help the channel grow. The Collector of Echoes, a detective mystery story. Detective Miles Harrow didn't believe in patterns, not the kind that whispered through radio static and streetlights flickering in rhythm. But the call that came in at 2:11 a.m. from a quiet block in downtown Var Bridge made him question that. A tenant had reported strange noises from apartment 4B, humming, rhythmic tapping, and something that sounded like a typewriter. When patrol arrived, they found the door unlocked, and the apartment completely empty. Not empty as in abandoned. Empty as in erased. Furniture gone. Walls freshly painted white. The only thing left was a table in the center of the room, and on it, a reel-to-reel tape recorder still spinning, though the tape had already run out. When Miles pressed play, a distorted voice echoed. "Every sound leaves a shadow. I collect them." The air was cold, unnaturally so. On the floor beneath the table, he noticed faint outlines, as if furniture had once stood there but vanished overnight. And in the dust near the wall, a perfect handprint. Neighbors said the tenant, a man named Elliot Crane, was quiet. A sound engineer for the local university. Moved in 6 months ago. No visitors. No noise complaints, until now. Miles looked out the window and froze. Across the alley, in the building opposite, a light flickered, 3 short bursts, pause, 3 again. Morse code. He wrote it down. Listen. Closely. The next morning, forensic technicians swept the apartment. No fingerprints. No trace of paint purchase records. Even the power meter showed 0 usage for the last week. But when Miles took the tape back to the precinct's audio lab, something strange happened. When reversed, the recording revealed faint background noises, dripping water, footsteps, a clock ticking, and then a voice whispering his name. Miles. Miles Harrow. Don't forget the subway. He hadn't mentioned the case to anyone outside the team. Digging into Crane's university background, he discovered the man had specialized in psychoacoustics, the study of how sound alters human perception. One of Crane's research papers was titled Asterisk, The Silence Between Seconds. Asterisk had theorized that certain frequencies could cause auditory hallucinations, or erase short-term memory. That evening, Miles went back to the building. The janitor said Crane was last seen 3 nights ago, carrying a heavy metal case. He said he was moving his life's work, the man muttered. But he left his key in the door. Down in the basement, Miles followed a faint hum, low like a pulse. In a corner, behind old paint cans, he found a speaker wired into the wall, still running. It emitted a sound too deep to hear, felt more than heard. Then, through the static, came a faint voice again. "Stop recording me." At 3 a.m. Miles followed the clue from the reverse tape. The subway. The Varbridge Metro had closed for maintenance that week, but he knew the staff at Central Station. Descending the unlit platform felt like walking into another decade. Peeling tiles, dripping ceilings, stale air that smelled of rust and electricity. Then he heard it. The same rhythmic tapping from apartment 4B. Not random. A pattern. He followed the echo down a service tunnel until he reached a maintenance door. Inside, a makeshift studio had been set up. Microphones, cables, soundproof foam, and a single metal case, half open, with reels of magnetic tape labeled by hand. One label read, Asterisk. Voices collected, Block C, April 2025. Star. He played one. Static. Then faint weeping. Then, unmistakably, the sound of breathing. Every tape contained someone's last recorded moments, phone calls, arguments, even radio chatter. It was as if Crane had been recording the entire city. Pinned to the wall was a photograph. Crane standing next to a chalkboard covered in equations. Behind him, faintly visible, were the words, Memory is only sound that hasn't stopped yet. As Miles turned off the recorder, the power flickered. In the reflection of a cracked monitor, he saw something move behind him, tall, thin, and silent. When he spun around, nothing was there. But the reel had started spinning again. Back at the precinct, Miles pieced together what Crane had done. He'd been testing low-frequency sound as a method of storing human memory, a sort of acoustic fingerprint. But the experiments had grown unstable. Crane's colleagues reported headaches, hallucinations, even temporary amnesia after visiting his lab. One assistant vanished for 2 days, found wandering the riverbank unable to recall her name. Miles returned to the tunnel lab with a portable audio analyzer. The devices spiked, invisible waves vibrating through the walls. He realized the tunnels themselves were resonating, turning the city's underground into one giant echo chamber. As he moved deeper, his radio crackled, but instead of static, it played an old broadcast of his own voice. "This is Detective Harrow, case file 2216. Subject still missing. Possible homicide." He'd never recorded such a file. Then the power surged. The reel-to-reel players started spinning by themselves. The hum became a roar, a deep note that made his vision blur. When he woke up, it was morning. He was lying in his car, engine running, no memory of how he got there. On the passenger seat sat a new tape labeled, "Your turn." Miles had the new tape analyzed by the lab, but the technician refused to finish. She said she could hear herself on it, saying words she never spoke. Others in the lab began feeling dizzy, reporting phantom sounds, footsteps behind them, voices whispering their names. That night, Miles listened alone. The tape began with a pulse, like a heartbeat. Then a voice, calm, familiar. "You kept listening, Detective. You shouldn't have." It was Crane. The voice spoke of sound shadows, vibrations of people who once existed. He discovered a way to trap those echoes, and himself, between frequencies. "I am the collector now," Crane said. "But every collector needs a successor." The audio dissolved into laughter, not Crane's, but dozens of voices overlapping. When Miles tried to stop the tape, the recorder jammed. The reels kept turning. His reflection in the dark window seemed slightly delayed, as if watching from another moment. Then, faintly, he heard a child's voice whisper, "Listen closely, Miles. We're right behind you." Days passed. Every recording device Miles touched began malfunctioning. Phones, radios, even elevators froze when he entered. His reflection sometimes moved a fraction too slow. He played the tape one last time, hoping for clarity. Instead, the static parted, and Crane's voice said, "It's not the sound that traps you, Miles. It's the silence between it." He turned off the recorder. Nothing happened. Then, no sound at all, not the hum of lights, not his own breathing. Absolute silence. He ran to the window. Outside, the city was motionless. Cars mid-turn, birds frozen in air, smoke suspended like glass. Only the faint glow of a red light blinked from the far side of the street, a tape recorder lying on the ground. On it, a label, asterisk. "Case closed." Star. Miles pressed stop. The world exhaled. Sound returned. But when he checked his reflection again, the mouth in the mirror didn't move when he spoke.